Moo moo. Moo. I think you see where that's going. Thank you very much, bear person.
Okay. So I'll just go ahead and get started pretty quick here. We have a few minutes of cutscenes at the beginning, so we can do introductions then. But when you guys are ready, count down. 3, 2, 1, go. This is Trial of Light. It's a RPG with some platforming and puzzle elements built into it, developed by Ubisoft Montreal. They've developed other games such as Assassin's Creed and Far Cry. This game is quite different than that, as you can kind of already see. One of the kind of cool things I like about this game, and you can kind of already see it if you're paying attention to the narration, is that the entire game is done kind of in verse or in rhyme. Not only the narration, but all the dialogue between the characters, with the exception of just one, who's just happens to be really bad.
It has a very strong fairy tale atmosphere to it.
And why don't we just, I guess, introduce ourselves?
Too.
Yeah. So I'm Takaze.
I'm Jenna.
Poexel.
So the category we're running is new game, any %. It's pretty self-explanatory. Starting off of a new game file. People also run New Game Plus, which is quite a different run, as you're kind of overpowered. But another category that I've looked into a little bit is just running the game on expert mode. There's just really a kind of a normal difficulty and a hard difficulty. And I would like to see more people kind of get into that, because I'm really the only one who's looked into routing that so far. But this run will be quite a bit shorter than an expert run. So I think it's not an easy run. So just because it's on casual doesn't.
Yeah, casual is just how Ubisoft decided to name normal difficulty in this game for whatever reason.
Okay, cutscene's about done, so we'll actually get to see some gameplay pretty soon here.
So the movement in this first section is, instead of walking, he's going to be doing these small little hops. And he's going to time his hops just so that he hops just as he lands. So he cancels the landing animation that Aurora, the main character, does.
Don't get used to this, too. He's only going to be doing this method of movement up until the first boss, and then things are going to change.
And if you are able to chain your hops correctly, you can get some momentum going, and you'll end up going even faster.
I mean, it's a speed game, so of course tends to be a faster way to get around than just running. So right here we're introduced to kind of our partner for the game, and his name is Nicholas. He's kind of this little firefly. And I'm actually playing on the PC version, and I'm using keyboard and mouse, even though that controller is certainly an option. But the reason I prefer to do that is Nicholas is with keyboard and mouse and is controlled entirely with the mouse. And I find him a little difficult to control with the controller. There isn't any sensitivity options that you can change with using a controller, so I find him a little sluggish with the controller. One of his uses, he has quite a few uses over the course of a run, but in battles, we'll be seeing these, what are called wishes, and they have kind of two functions. They give me some HP and MP back inside and outside of fights, and they can also fill up his light meter, which is, again, used in inside and outside of fights. He basically shines the light, and outside of fights, that allows us to kind of solve these puzzles, just as we've seen.
Yeah, like that's basically the tutorial for Igniculus there, between collecting wishes and then solving that simple light puzzle there.
And inside battles, which we'll, I guess, get to see in a second here, he functions to slow down a single enemy. I can also heal myself with him, but I try not to use that too much. And in a second, we get to see our first battle. There's a little bit of RNG to this first one, just as a time save, but it's a pretty straightforward fight.
Yeah, so battles in this game are turn-based and use a action bar at the bottom of the screen, kind of like a lot of SquareSoft RPGs. And kind of the unique thing about battles in Child of Light is that when you queue an action, the batter goes into that act red section, and then if they get attacked before actually getting to the end of it, then what's called an interrupt happens, and then they don't lose their turn completely, but they get pushed back.
Mm-hmm. And that's a pretty important thing to note over the course of the run. A lot of the run is just kind of controlling the flow of the battle and interrupting enemies where possible, and if they happen to interrupt me, I'm trying to avoid that as much as possible. And you can kind of see when I'm kind of shining the light onto a particular enemy, that's when they're slowed.
Yeah. So these two battles he's fighting against these insect enemies here aren't actually required, but he's doing those to level up for fighting the first boss, just so that Aurora gets some extra health and magic, and also learns her first spell, Starlight.
Yep, and that's the only grinding that we're going to see over the course of the whole run, so hashtag grinding is already over.
There's a little bit of randomness to when fights with multiple enemies, what order their first turns come up in, so sometimes he has to kind of scan around quick and get appraisal of where they all fall on the action bar, so that he can kind of adjust his strategy accordingly.
Another thing that Iniculus can do is he can shine it on enemies in the outer world to prevent him from entering a fight, so he can just pass through them rather than enter a fight when he comes in contact with them.
Yeah, and since all my grinding is done, I don't want to be fighting anything else. So if I do happen to get into a fight accidentally, we can just run from the fights, which is guaranteed. I don't have to spend time running, but I mean it's still a time loss just from having to go into the fights. And we're coming up on our, I guess, first little bit of speed tech in this next puzzle room. We're not going to be doing the intended way to solve the puzzle. I guess you'll get to see that, once we actually get to it, though. So the way the game intends us to solve this puzzle is to kind of there's this box up in this top left here, and the game intends us to push it all the way to the bottom right and jump on some platforms, push another box on another platform to get to this lever to flip a switch. That takes a little bit of time. So let's do something different.
Yeah, you're going to be doing a little creative platforming to shorten this by about 20 seconds, I believe.
It's somewhere around there.
Nice, first try, yeah.
So that's it looks pretty easy, but it can be a little dangerous just because of that box. I want to kind of push to the edge of the ledge, but obviously if I push it too far, the box falls over, and I have to just do the intended strategy. And then, kind of mentioned earlier, with all these jumps I'm doing, I have to kind of time two jumps pretty well together to get so that I'm at the edge of the box, and I don't want to be losing any of my forward momentum. I'm glad that I got it on the first try with a bunch of people watching, but if I happen to miss the jump, you can just retry, and then it only takes a few seconds to get that set up again. But we're coming up on our first boss. We kind of have to solve another light puzzle.
Yeah, this one's kind of unique in that you can't just point Igniculus on a specific portion of the field and shine. He has to actually drag while shining too.
Yeah, it's a little annoying. It's like the only puzzle in the game that you have to. Let's see, it already did it to me there. But I mean, I just use visual cues to know where to kind of have Igniculus end up. So this fight's actually a pretty good introduction to kind of how the rest of the fights will be working in the sense that I'm trying to interrupt the enemies as much as I can, and hopefully it'll go pretty smoothly. There's a few things that I hope don't happen, but the strategy I use, okay, it's one out of the way.
Yeah. So you'll notice that when he's as soon as he's starting to attack, he's also collecting the wishes from the plants on the edges of the screen in order to refill his MP for continuing to cast Starlight.
Yeah, my MP at this point is pretty low, so I only have enough MP for 2 casts, but as I mentioned earlier, one of the things that wishes do in fights is they recover a little bit of HP and MP on their first use, as well as Igniculus's light meter in the top left you see there.
Yeah, and then the 2 statues have different attacks too. Like the one holding the spear just mostly does physical attacks, and the one that he's already killed that had a staff does mostly buffing spells. So the fact that he was able to kill it before it actually did anything is pretty good, and that was a really good fight.
That was pretty clean.
The back statue can also heal, which is a time loss, and that causes you to have to do an extra hit.
Yeah, I think it has a speed up spell too.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit of the story, since we haven't touched on that yet. So Aurora is a princess of Austria. Her father's a duke. She happens to kind of, quote unquote, die one night when going to sleep. But instead of dying, she's transported to what she thinks is a dreamland. So she's just trying to get home here. Don't panic. It's completely intended. There's some cutscenes that we're skipping over just by Alt F4ing out of the game. I'm going to do it twice here. And there's a few other times throughout the course of the game where I'll be kind of either skipping some stuff or kind of doing interesting skips by closing out of the game.
Yeah, because this game has an autosave feature, and a lot of the skips that he's going to be doing as part of the speedrun route or exploiting that. Like there's this very small number of cutscenes, like the one that he just did, where there's an autosave that happens kind of at the start of the cutscene that flags it is already done. So and then quitting and reloading the game ends up being faster than actually watching it.
Mm-hmm. So the cutscenes that we're missing over, basically we're told by Igniculus that we have to go talk to this old lady and she can help us out to get home. And this old lady is telling us that we have to go get the sun, the moon, and the stars. Mm-hmm.
A very fairy tale-esque quest.
Also, we can fly now. So all the platforming that we've done earlier on is not required anymore.
Yeah. And he's also going to be starting to collect what's called Stardust, which are items that increase stats and can be used on any characters. He got one as a drop from the Guardian statues, and then he was able to pick up another one with Igniculus. That's another thing that he's going to be using Igniculus for too, is picking up items, because both Stardusts and certain types of treasure chests he can mouse over with Igniculus to pick up without having to actually move Aurora over. But chests that have levers on them require Aurora to open.
That previous room, if you leave it too early before you obtain the flute item, you can actually soft lock the game.
Yeah, so you kind of saw me like wait around for a few seconds to activate that cutscene. If we don't see that cutscene and we try to move forward at some point, I forget exactly where the game just doesn't let us proceed without going back and watching that cutscene.
Oh, and then it's another type of treasure chest that one you just have to shine Igniculus on for a few seconds. Yeah,
for the most part, I'm trying not to go out of my way to pick up chests, but I'm just taking a path to kind of go straight to the next boss. And I mean, I can pick up chests along the way. They don't really take time because I'm moving along with Aurora and then just using Nicholas to pick up the chest
Yeah.
so that I keep moving forward.
Yeah, he also just recruited his first helper character, Rubella, who I believe is optional, but is a very trivial detour to recruit.
Technically all characters are optional, which is kind of cool. I could play through the game as just Aurora. That would be a little difficult on a new game. There's a basic skill tree for all the characters. For the most part, I won't be doing anything other than a single skill tree for each character.
Yeah, because every time he levels up, he gets a skill point that he can assign to either an ability or a stat boost on the skill tree.
Next boss fight with this giant. This is kind of how most of the boss fights are going to end up looking from here on out, where it'll be the boss, and I'll have two ads that we have to. Nice, wow,
Nice.
crit.
Ooh.
This is
That's an Aurora crit.
Oh, nice.
Aurora has like a 1% crit chance at this point. So, by the way, that's $5 for me. I meant to say earlier that for every crit that Aurora and another character will get later on, Finn, will be getting, I'll donate $5. I'm literally paying to win.
Yeah.
So someone
Yeah,
at home keep tally.
Yeah, and then for pretty much all of these fights, except for the final boss, he does actually have to kill all three enemies in order to win the fight. He couldn't just kill the giant and then have the wolves disappear. He does actually have to kill the wolves, so he gets those out of the way first. Just because they're weaker and less enemies means just simpler management of interrupts, both for you and for them.
A lot of the fights difficulties, a few particular fights or a few fights in particular are very difficult until I get those ads out of the way. Wow, another crit. That was Rubella though, so no $5 from me.
And then
good job, Rubella.
Then the giant has a counterattack if you use magic on him, so takaze is just using physicals.
Those two crits are pretty good. If I had live split up, that would probably have been a gold split for me.
That's very good.
And then whenever he levels up, the character that leveled up gets all of their HP and MP restored. So healing between battles isn't a thing in this run, just because he levels up after every boss, and he's only going to be fighting bosses for the rest of the game.
And also, characters are revived at the end of battle. So even if in that fight, there's actually a pretty high chance that Aurora can just straight up die because she can get two-shot by pretty much anything. She'll be revived at the end of the fight, and she'll still get her XP, so it's not a problem. So here's kind of our first, I guess you could call it a glitch. We're basically skipping an optional dungeon, but we're still getting the reward for doing the dungeon, which is another character. And basically, the way it ends up working is I can pause the game and activate a cutscene at the same time. And we've actually just learned the ability to kind of fast travel. So I'll be pausing and activating the cutscene, and then fast traveling to kind of save this location. And the cutscene's still going on. And while that's happening, I'm going to close out of the game again. So the game should spawn us in the altar. Finn joined our party, and what's supposed to happen is we get Finn in our party, and then it puts us into the dungeon, the well. And if I ever leave the well, then Finn leaves the party, because they want you to do that dungeon. There's a boss, there's a bunch of cutscenes. But by putting myself into the altar, the game doesn't kick Finn out of my party because I'm never getting to the point where I'm leaving the well. So let's double check that this actually worked properly.
Yeah, because he's kind of interrupting and closing the
Right.
game in between when the game adds Finn to his party and when it loads him into the well. So he's able, and Finn was still standing there, by the way, too,
Yeah,
even though he's now in his party too, looking all sad.
So if you go really fast in this section, you can get it in one cycle, and if you got it.
Yeah, and that's another exploit of the autosave feature in this game, the Finn glitch, as we call it.
So there's a little bit of, this section's just going to be a whole lot of movement. Not a whole lot going on. We'll be getting a few extra characters, so we have time for a few quick donations.
Of course, I have Many donations coming in for this run in particular. This is a $15 donation here from Ghost King. He says, "Hello, Takaze and Puexel on the couch. Good luck on your on your run of Child of Light, Takaze. It'll be nice to wind down on this relaxing RPG. $5 to Takaze's choice and $5 each to both people on the couch."
Thanks, Ghost King.
I have a $250 donation here from Sweep Eye Networks. This is for Doctors Without Borders and the Pokemon Blue Run. Thank you very much, Sweep Eye Networks. Appreciate that.
We can squeeze in a few more.
Yeah, we have another $250 donation, this time from Pneumatic. Says, "So glad I woke up in time to catch Trauma Surgeon. What a surreal way to start my day. Just found out I don't need to buy a new central air conditioner, so now I have some money to donate. Put this to Runner's Choice."
So we're getting a new character here. This is Aurora's stepsister, and she's telling us that, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And we're kind of surprised to see her as well, but she's telling us she knows a way to get home. So we're very happy to hear that from her.
Aurora's not particularly concerned with finding the moon and the stars right now. She just wants to go home and see her dad.
And to be able to get home, there's kind of a temple up in the clouds that we need to get to. And even though we do have wings, we can't just fly up there. But we probably have another time for a donation or two. Actually, just kidding. Kind of an important thing that I need to explain. Our oculi function as a kind of equipment in this game. You can equip them to different parts for each character. So there's you can equip them to weapon and armor, and they just give a minor stat boost, or a lot of things. If you equip to weapon, kind of add elemental properties. For the most part, we're not going to be using them too much because even though it doesn't really look like it, most oculi that we end up getting are kind of randomized. I happen to get some good oculi from those two chests, so I'll be using them later on in a little bit.
Yeah, and then oculi are the only type of equipment in this game. There's no weapons or armor or anything.
Here we're picking up another extra character, Robert. He's kind of a physical damager and also has some slowing abilities that we'll use later in the run.
And the character Nora that we got earlier, she's kind of a support type character. She has some very powerful abilities that slow the enemies and quicken her allies. And those two things in this game are very, 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 very good. And I try to get every little bit of use out of them. In this next section, we have to kill a bunch of spiders, and it's probably I would say the biggest source of RNG in this run. Just because normally most sections of the game, we just have to go straight to the boss, kill the boss, and that's it. But in this section, there are some required fights that we have to do beforehand. Yeah. So
we could kind of look at this section as an extension of the Trauma Center run that came before this, only with a giant Titan or whatever Magna is.
Yeah, we have to do a little bit of surgery here, I guess. The Titan is her name is Magna. She's having problems with her heart, and we have to go kill some spiders to cure her.
Yeah, so Magna is kind of a slightly non-linear dungeon in that there's 3 spider mini bosses that need to be killed and then come back to the heart here in order to fight the main spider. And it doesn't really matter what order he fights the mini bosses in, just because they're all the same. And if he gets hit by this lava or the fireballs, that does drains HP, but only for Aurora, and Aurora isn't going to be used for the fights in here. So I think he can actually die if he completely runs out of HP, but other than that, it's just getting hit by the lava just means he's slowed down a little bit.
So I'm actually equipping a little bit of oculi just to give Robert a very minor damage boost. I'm able to sneak behind the spiders to get a surprise attack with the help of Aniculus. And most of my characters are actually really low level at this point, but the 2 characters we just picked up are somewhat reasonable level. So we'll be mostly using Robert and Nora to kind of carry us through these 3 mini-bosses. And my goal for each of these fights is to just try to prevent the spiders from ever doing anything. I'm going to actually defend here just to burn through a turn so that my next turn with Robert, I'll be able to get interrupt all 3. This fight's actually going pretty well.
Defend gives you a little bit of a speed boost, so you can get back to the cast bar pretty quickly, and you can use it to get in a good position to interrupt in the case that he was using it. And the thing about that surprise attack that he got, good fight. When you get a surprise attack, it puts you, one of your characters will be automatically on the cast bar, so you'll be able to take your turn immediately. And get ahead of all the other enemies.
Yeah, it is random which one it is, so for some battles it does have different strategies for the first turn depending on who gets the first attack.
Yeah, so with that first fight, I can always let Nora go first because I have to switch her in. But for the other fights, the other 2 fights, it will be kind of a coin flip of whether Robert goes first or Nora goes first. So I do have different strategies for how I start off the fight. So well, I guess we'll see what we get here. I do prefer Nora to go first because it makes the fights easier in my opinion. Another thing I'm doing is trying to find which spider is furthest back on the ATB bar, and at least for the start of the fight, that's the one I'm going to be slowing. But for the most part, we got slowed there, but that's okay because I'm going to be quickening at Robert anyway. If I get slowed after I do the quicken, that'll be a little unfortunate just because I'd have to spend another turn. Dodge is rude.
Those spiders have a pretty good chance to dodge, so we tend to see that pretty often.
But yeah, for all these fights, he's just kind of ideally getting them all clustered together on the time bars so that he's just constantly interrupting them and they don't get turns.
So Nora's attacks have a chance to paralyze. And paralysis is pretty self-explanatory. They just stop on the ATB, whether it's in the cast section or the weight section.
You play. I've actually have you play in offline mode, which is kind of Ubisoft's game launcher. So it's normally it would say what I've done and kind of gives me a reward for it. But since I'm in offline mode, it's just letting me know that I've done something. So thank you, Uplay. For this next section, when you go down here, to keep Robert in our party, kind of like with Finn, the game wants us to complete a side quest. It is optional. I could continue the game without Robert, though I really do want to have him in our party. He is a very valuable character. He has certainly top percentage of rats. But this side quest is significantly easier than doing Finn's side quest. I just have to solve this really, really hard puzzle. I might need your guys' help for it.
Okay.
It's really hard, guys.
Yeah, it is early. Hopefully you can make it.
Okay, how many times do I hit this lever? Do I do it another time? Only 2 times? Okay. Oh, I guess that's
Yeah,
I
okay.
guess that's it. Oh,
But wait, there's more.
There's more. Okay, there we go. We've done the quest. So we'll be rewarded with keeping Robert in our party, and we also get a few treasures, which I could bother to not get, but we'll get them and see what we get. There's a few oculi, and again, oculi are mostly random from when we get them from chests. And there's, I guess you could call those revives that I picked up, a little bit of safety there. Ideally, I won't need them, but I'm going to do a little bit of leveling up for this last section, or this last spider. So Robert is starting this time, so I'll be using another ability that we haven't seen yet. Unstoppable allows us to continue casting something. Two crits.
Double
Very
crit.
nice.
Wow.
Robert does have a good crit chance.
Robert crits aren't worth $5 from Takaze too,
No,
just because his crit rate's quite a bit higher than Aurora and Finn's.
But yes,
Unstoppable prevents interruptions.
Yes.
This is why he's doing that.
And when Robert starts, sometimes the ATB can get a little hairy,
yeah.
and he has a chance to be interrupted. We don't care too much that Nora is slowed here because she's not our main damage dealer in this fight.
All right. With the 3 sets of 3 spiders taken care of, we can now go kill the boss in this section, which is another spider.
And then all 3 of those spiders were exactly the same too. So I mean, they get progressively faster and easier.
Ideally.
Just because of him leveling up after each one.
Oddly enough, the first set of spiders probably went the cleanest. That last spider was just not too clean of a fight, but there's really no danger of dying in those fights. So now that everybody's kind of caught up in levels, I do have to skill them up. With Finn, we'll be going down. There's kind of 3 trees of spells that he can take. I'll be going down the lightning skill path. And that's not too important at this point, but it will become important later. Oops.
So there's a crafting system in this game, so you can craft oculi to make better oculi. And that onyx that he's putting onto Finn, it gives 10% extra spell damage. Finn is a caster. And that's going to help in this fight, just give us a little bit more damage to kill the spider fast.
So the fight starts pretty much the same as the other fights. So I'll be doing the same start where I'll be slowing everything because again, slow is very, very powerful. I don't like seeing that. One of the things that can happen with these fights, but I would have been switching Nora out anyway. I just had to kind of use Robert's turn to switch out. One interesting thing about this game that you saw there is I am able to, with one character, switch out the other character in the party. These dodges.
And switching out doesn't cost a turn. It still puts your character right at the cast bar.
Wow.
What? 3 dodges back.
They do have a pretty okay dodge chance, but that's still not happy to see that. I'll go ahead and bring Finn out. So with a lot of the fights, they end up being where we have to kill the ads with one type of attack, like physical or magic, and then the boss with the reverse. So the boss spider has pretty high defense, so I have to kill it with magic. And at this point, Finn is really our only person that can actually do reasonable damage. Aurora does have a little bit of magic that we've already seen, but she's pretty weak at this point still.
And I believe this is also the first boss that has what's called an interrupt counter, which is where if you interrupt his action, you'll still get the interrupt, but it'll also immediately do some kind of counterattack.
Yeah, so I'm trying to avoid interrupting this boss because of that. She'll counter with quickening everybody, so you'll get to see it here. But I'll be able to get that taken care of. Possibly.
A lot of the interrupt counters are pretty nasty too. Like probably there's a boss coming up that does a party heal if you interrupt it.
Yeah, and these interrupt counters affect the entire party. So if the boss still had her ads out, she would quicken everything, including the ads.
So I grabbed some Lola elixirs, which I normally don't do, but they can kind of help out in this section if I make mistakes like I've done here.
And Finn's spells I mean, Finn's basically the strongest mage type character in the game, but his spells are kind of expensive as far as MP. So for a lot of the fights where he's using Finn, he has to kind of recover his MP every few turns with items.
That wasn't the cleanest of fights, but we still got through it.
It's probably the biggest RNG boss.
Yeah, that paralyzed didn't do me any favors. That's actually it's probably the worst paralyzed that we'll see in this run. There are some other bosses that have a paralyzed type attack, but they aren't really that nasty. But that paralyze on the spider fight I swear it lasts forever. So Robert wanted to kind of recover the vault of the town to impress this girl, Margaret, and it didn't work out for him, so he just got rejected. So I guess to make him feel better, we play a song.
Yeah, Aurora's a bit of a Pied Piper as far as playing songs on her flute and then compelling people to join her.
We probably have a time for 1 or 2 quick donations.
Sure, we've got a lot coming in again for this run here. This is a $100 donation from Gunarmdine. He says, it's too early to try to write some witty rhymes for this game as part of my comment, but certainly not too early to watch and enjoy the run. Child of Light is worth playing just for the soundtrack alone. Thanks, Gunarmdine.
I certainly do agree. The soundtrack in this game is really good. I really do enjoy it. You can go ahead with one more, and then we got to explain the next boss.
Sure, this is from Lloyd Shields. He says, sends $25 to Doctors Without Borders and says, had a great week watching SGDQ. Can't wait to see the Diablo 2 speedrun later. Thanks to all the speedrunners this weekend. Kill the animals, hype. And I just want to let everybody know, if you want to see the animals die, remember that cows are animals. So we want to get that in for Diablo 2. Make sure you check that out.
So this next boss fight, initially with the speedrun, this was probably the hardest fight in the game, and even casually, I struggled with this boss when I first got to it. It's kind of the first part of the game where they really kind of ramp up the difficulty. But the strategy that we'll be doing is very, very tight. Like with a lot of the fights in this game, I have a loose overall strategy, but with this fight, I'm trying to kind of make the fight go exactly the way I want, from even just the amount that I'm slowing particular enemies. I want to be very precise. So I guess I'll need a little bit of serious time for this, and I will let my commentators kind of take over kind of how this fight is going.
So we start with skilling up, and we're going to change the oculi over to Aurora because there are enemies in this fight that are weak to lights, so we're going to use her light spells to kill the ads.
Yeah, and the Banshees, which are the ads, are weak to light and resistant to physical. And then the Griffin, the boss, is resistant to magic and then takes normal damage from physical.
So first we bring out a Rebella to get an interrupt on everything, including Griffin, which has an interrupt counter, but we actually want it for the way that the ATB lines up when she slows everyone in our party.
Yeah, because this strategy is just really, really tight management of ATB for all 3 enemies, along with your characters.
So he's going to be slowing Griffin just the precise amount so that he can get in his attacks when we want. And from this point onward, we do not want to get any interrupts on him. So we're going to be avoiding that at all costs.
And you saw the Griffin do a gathering strength move a bit ago, too. Certain bosses have that, and that's a 2-turn attack, basically. It means on the Griffin's next turn, it's going to use one of its strongest attacks. Usually gather strength is like a party-wide attack.
Yeah, it's an AoE attack that he'll be doing next. So now we know exactly what he's going to be doing, and we know how long the cast time for that attack is. It's pretty short, if I remember correctly. So different actions that you take have different cast times. Some are very long, some are short. So this is one part of the fight where the timing is pretty tight. We want Finn to get in his attack before Griffin reaches the cast bar, and we want Aurora. Ooh.
I wasn't paying to
Nasty.
Aurora's HP. So ideally that wouldn't have happened, but we'll manage. Just need to think about what I'm doing here. I'll bring out Rebella.
So Aurora is a necessary part of our strategy, but hopefully we can use Finn to kill the ads at this point because he's our other mage. Or
So as you can see, making minor mistakes really sets this track off the rails. So I'm just going to try to pretend that Finn is Aurora, and we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, so we just did Unstoppable on Finn to prevent interrupts for a few turns, ideally until you can kill the Banshees.
the strategy, yeah, as takaze said, the strategy is pretty tight. If you're able to get it, it's very consistent, but bad things happen, and Griffin is not nice.
That shouldn't interrupt.
It's very close, but got it.
Well.
So the Griffin is weak to physical attacks, so he's going to start doing some physical attacks on Griffin to start getting his health down. So Hinder is a slowing attack which does physical damage, but it is a spell, so spells in this game cannot be dodged. So that's one helpful element of it. It also is his strongest damaging ability at this point.
I guess we'll see if we get a little lucky. Okay, we get a little lucky. Thank you. And Robert's a little low on HP there. Let's try not to die again. Okay.
Nice.
Good.
Hard part of the fight is over.
And then healing items in this game are percentage based too. So like the first kind of healing item, a healing tonic, is 50% of your max HPs. Those are useful for the whole game.
So since Robert is our biggest physical damage dealer at this point, we put a elevate damage on him, so he'll do more damage on his attacks. And a quicken so that he'll be able to cast more quickly. Oh, no.
That's bad
Of
luck
course.
there.
So one of Griffin's abilities is he has the ability to revive one of his ads, and this is something we really don't like to see.
Yeah, just because of the Banshees being resistant to physical attacks, he has to really expend some extra resources and turns in order to re-kill them.
And
Should just take 2 casts of lightning to take care of that.
Yeah, because
down.
it didn't come back at max HP. I believe it 50%.
Nice dodge.
Robert has a good chance to dodge as well as crit, as we can see.
I actually should have just gone for that. I guess I'll play it safe. No, I really don't want to see another revive. Yeah, and
There we go.
so close to death anyway.
Nice recovery.
Yeah, really good recovery there.
So yeah, that's probably the hardest fight if the fight goes off of rails. If you weren't paying attention when it had happened is I should have known how much damage that Griffin was going to do with its AoE attack. It's 85 damage to Aurora. But the Banshees kind of decided to beat up on Aurora a little bit, so that HP threshold dropped below 85. And I didn't notice until Griffin started casting the fiery wings, and it was a little too late at that point. Even though I could have, if I noticed it a little bit quicker, spent some of the light meter on a Nicholas to heal Aurora. I was just too slow.
Yeah, and Aurora for most of the game is his most fragile character, just because of starting at level 1 and him not fighting random encounters means she's just not gaining. I mean, and then other characters join at higher levels, so she's under-leveled for most of the run, and I think her defensive stats are just kind of naturally on the low side too.
Interestingly enough, different characters have different amount of XP requirements to get to their next level. So in terms of the story, we've just abandoned our friends. Nora says she found a way home. We just need to go through this magic mirror. So we trust our sister, right? Right? Okay, I'll follow you.
Do we have time for some donations?
Yes, we will get to see a betrayal of our sister and our stepmother and other stepsister, but for the most part, this section is a little bit of cutscene, so take it away.
I have $20 from Yoddy82, Yod High. He says, been watching SGDQ a few times, first time donating. Thanks to all the organizers and runners for making this awesome event possible. Also very happy to see a run of this beautiful game. Good luck to Takaze. Oh, and save the animals, kill the frames. I have a $25 donation from Rishi, says simply Takaze hype.
Thank you, Rishi. Still more cutscene? Still more donations?
I have $75 here from Parallelo Dad. Says, thanks SGDQ, you've truly been a beacon of light in a tough couple of weeks, showing there is really a lot of good in the world. Happy birthday to my dad. I also have a $200 donation from Anonymous who says, thanks to all the runners and crew for this great week. On behalf of everybody here, you are very welcome. Another $200 donation real quick, also from Anonymous, who simply says, moo? That's, of course, in reference to the secret cow level from Diablo 2. That is a donation incentive. If you want to see the secret cow level as a part of the speedrun of Diablo 2 coming up in just a few short hours, you need to make sure that we hit the $25,000 donation incentive level. And that's going to require about a little bit more than $10,000 at this point to get us there. We'd really love to see that happen. Got one more here. It's from Sly5. It says, shout out from Sly, Nat, and Francesco, cheering you on. Hashtag pray for no prey. Put this towards naming the boy in FFA Jeff.
That's my brother, Sil. Thank you, Sil. Another usage of compelling someone to help us out. We'll get a really, really good character. First, he has to rescue us, and then we'll have to rescue the remaining friends because they've happened to gotten themselves captured as well. Oengus kind of functions as a tank fighter, so he has a taunt ability that does what it sounds like. It gets everybody to use any single target abilities on him. And since a lot of our characters are pretty squishy, we have to make very good use of that. We could probably squeeze in one more donation.
Sure, $100 here from Train. Says, love from Sweden. One more, $100 from Anonymous. It says, fun and interesting as always.
So this first little section, I actually lost all my party members. Interestingly enough, I'm going to take this for safety. Finn is still in our party because we've kind of confused the game a little bit. The game didn't ever remove him from our party, so you'll see here that we'll rescue our other 2 party members, but we're not rescuing Finn because he just decided to tag along.
Yeah, because we never actually completed his side quest, which is likely how the game checks for which characters are actually here.
Mm-hmm.
You'll also see him at other parts of the run where there's general dialogue between people. Finn will show up, but in other times he's absent.
Yeah, so we'll see him talk with our other party members here a little bit, but in some other cutscenes, he just doesn't show up. We've actually, we're not getting all the characters in this run. There's already a character that we've missed.
Tristus, I believe.
Yeah, so I did a little bit of saving some time on some cutscenes just by kind of activating 2 pieces of the puzzle at the same time. And that just maybe saves like 10 seconds or so. And so the same thing that we did for Finn, we're going to be doing with Oengus, where to keep Oengus in our party, the game wants us to do his little side quest, which is kind of like a little maze, and we kind of rescue his people since his people are kind of under oppression by Umbra, your mother or stepmother. But I mean, just take a few seconds to read how big of a jerk Aurora is. She's really self-centered. She just wants to go home.
And I like how she's saying this with a big smile on her face too.
So you saw me start Oengus' side quest and then immediately exit it. And then I'll be quitting to the main menu at a particular point here. And once I load the game back up, I've compelled, yet again, someone to join our party without really helping them. So we'll get to see Oengus is in our party.
Yeah, this is a newer and faster method of doing this too.
Yeah, there are actually quite a few methods to do that. So we've kind of been saving up a bunch of Stardust just for Oengus. I'll throw that on him.
He's a very important party member.
Yes, he is. So this is one of our sisters, and anybody with sisters, or bigger sisters in particular, I'm sure they can attest to. When they get angry at you, they turn into a dragon.
Mm-hmm. Got really cool music, at least.
So this fight's pretty scary. We want Oengus to have taunts on at all times so that our other squishy character does not get hurt.
Yeah, and then the 2 ghost enemies that are the ads here unfortunately do have an AoE attack called Wheel of Death, which will still hit both of your characters even through taunt. So we want to see as little of that as possible.
So this is a fight of just counting to 3. I need to count to 3 with Oengus, so that was turn 1. Someone please remind me if I'm... Well, someone just mentioned Wheel of Death, and it just happened.
Sorry.
This is Oengus' second turn while taunted.
I want to make sure to get this damage elixir off onto Aurora, since these guys take they have quite a bit of HP. Oddly enough, they have different HP amounts. The top one has 100 more HP than the bottom one. That's another $5, and it's on the top one. That's what I like to see.
So the top one is the one with 100 more HP.
So that was turn 2, right?
Yes, you did turn 2 already. So this is turn
Play
3.
it safe. I should have played it more safe.
Next turn, he's forced to taunt again, so that we keep taunts up, and we got a crit on him.
Yeah, so he's using Igniculus to heal Oengus now by shining on him.
So we're in a tough spot right now.
Okay. Oh, we'll be fine, I think. So that needed to be taunt. So my taunt's not active right now, and that's really scary. Okay, so we got it off. I do need to spend some time healing Oengus to make sure he can live. If our tank dies, blame the healer. Nice dodge.
So this is a fight in which the ads are weak to magic and the boss is weak to physical. So we are AoEing Starlights and getting in a few pot shots with Oengus on the boss. Haven't seen too many wheels of death. If we get a lot of them, Aurora can get in danger of dying just because she's so squishy.
So because we got that crit on the top one, even though it has more HP, we saw it die first. Ideally, I'd prefer them to die at the same time, but oh well.
So Crepusculum did her paralyzed attack on Oengus. It's not very long, so we don't mind it that much. In fact, we actually prefer it because it breaks the slow on him. So once it wears off, he is no longer slowed.
Yeah.
Of course, she decides to reapply.
Cordelia or Crepusculum or whatever you want to call her does have a heal interrupt counter too, which we want to avoid.
That crit does not cost $5. Both Oengus and Robert have pretty reasonable crit chance, so we'll be ending the game with around 15 to 20% crit. So that's a little too pricey in my opinion. So I accidentally interrupted Cordelia here, and so we'll see her heal herself. I ran out of the light meter at an opportune time, but fight's over. That went pretty okay. Got a little scary. That's probably the second hardest fight. Well, that I'm not too sure if Umber's harder. Umber's just Umber's a little rude sometimes.
Pray.
So we've just killed her sister, and we've gotten one of the pieces we're looking for. We've gotten the moon. The old lady at the start gave us the stars, which gave us the ability to fly. So the moon, I guess, makes us older. So we're not a child anymore. We're kind of grown up a little bit.
A teenager of light now, I guess.
Could probably squeeze in 1 or 2 donations if you can make them quick enough.
Sure. Let me try to get through this one. This is from Beachy-chan. Sends $50 and says, "Talking in rhymes sure is hard. Not only Rubella did know this from the start. Please pray for no prey and good RNG, and don't forget to mention Schrodinger's fin for me. You're doing such a great job, dear Takaze-san. So good luck and have a lot of fun. Donation goes. How else could it be to Runner's Choice and not to me?"
Thanks a lot, Becky. So the Schrodinger's fin, she's kind of joking about. We kind of already touched on that, but it's basically Finn's both in our party and not in our party at the same time, because he's in our party we get to use him in battles and certain dialogues, but during some cutscenes, he's just not present. And there's actually, near the end of the game, we'll kind of see that where all the characters are supposed to like kind of join up, and some characters are just didn't feel like joining us. We get to see another character who unfortunately we don't get to get in the run. I think she's a really cool character. She's kind of like I guess like a battle support mage type thing. She has a lot of knockbacks and slows, and she has a paralyzed attack too. But it just takes a little bit too long to get her. We'd have to do some backtracking. So sorry again. All right, gonna get another Stardust, and we get some Arcali there. There's gonna be another Arcali I'm gonna get down here. It's kind of headed away. So again, these Arcali are random. I'm not sure exactly what I'm gonna be getting. And there's, a few things I'd like to get. So that's one, both the things I got there are kind of ideal. I'll be able to combine them into something bigger and better later on. So this is another light puzzle where we're supposed to be matching up Roman numerals. I don't know why Roman numerals are in this kind of fantasy world, but we'll just see what we get. This last piece can be a little tricky to get sometimes to do quickly, just because I'm not going to be pushing it down all the way, and I kind of have to kind of squeeze it in, sometimes blind.
Yeah, because he can still trigger the puzzle solution there, even if he can't see it, fortunately. He does also have a somewhat finite number of attempts, too, because he's draining his light meter, and if it runs out, he'll have to wait for it to refill.
Or find a wish somewhere.
So I'm going to give a small magic boost to you. Oops, I just gave Aurora some strength. That's not the most useful of things.
/OP.
So this is a pretty straightforward fight. It should go by pretty quickly. It's a little dangerous still just because it's kind of another variation of the giant fight we had earlier. They do a lot of physical damage. So still have to pay attention. It's certainly not free. We also find that the ogre ate all of Gen's people. So that's a little sad.
So this boss has an interrupt counter which paralyzes the
Nice
person
dodge.
who interrupted him. So we're going to try not to interrupt him at all costs. So AoEing magic with Finn to kill the wolves.
Yeah, I really want to make sure I get that damage elixir off to be able to kill them in 3 lightning strikes. It can get a little hairy if I try to. If this fight goes on too long, it's a little scary.
And we really want 3 lightning strikes because that's as many as Finn's MP will allow. So we really don't want to have to spend time potting him or giving him a magic potion. So.
And you see me there, like, I'm slowing Ogre a bit, and then when he kind of gets close to the cast bar, I don't want to actually slow him when he's on the cast bar, because, again, I don't want to interrupt him. If I accidentally interrupt him, the fight becomes just really hard to manage. It should be the last cast, which is good, because you can see Oengus is just nearly alive. I'll have Robert heal him up a bit.
So Robert is no longer our main damage dealer as far as physical goes. It is now Oengus.
Yep. I'm gonna get rid of that slow. Ooh, this might be an interrupt.
Ooh, it is.
So we get to see the paralyzed here. It's okay. Oengus is the one who does most of the damage, and we get a crit. Thankfully, I'm not paying $5 for that. So with the rest of the fights, crits are very powerful with Finn. So I really hope to be paying some $5 in all of the remaining fights, especially I would say this upcoming fight, Leviathan. So we're kind of going into a water section, and earlier I mentioned that we went down like the lightning skill path for Finn, and you might guess that the upcoming boss would be weak to lightning, and you would be correct.
The next 2 bosses, in fact.
Next 2 bosses. Can squeeze in a donation because I just kind of need to get through this section, and it's not too much going on.
Sure, I have $25 from Blue Undertones, who says, "Hi, sweet potato. I'm sorry I couldn't be in the room, but I'm supporting you from upstairs. You're doing a great job. Catbug will give you strength and luck. Zelda and Booties would vote to save the animals. And P.S. Jenna, don't forget the Sir Horns."
Okay, so that's my girlfriend's. Shout out to her. She actually surprised me yesterday by flying out here and showing up into the lobby. She didn't get a badge, though, unfortunately, so she's not able to watch from the room, but she's still watching upstairs, so I guess I'm supposed to say hi, honeypot. It's going to make me blush on screen.
Time for one more?
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
We are kind of going out of our way into a secret section to get a really important chest. So these onyxes we'll be able to combine into bigger and better onyxes. Onyxes, again, increase our magic, and it's it's like by 20%, I believe. A really large amount for our 2 casters at this point. You can get this, and I have to do a little bit of on-the-fly figuring out what I exactly want to do with my oculi.
Yeah, just because a lot of the oculi chests that he got are random. Well, actually, all of them. I think the drops he got from battles are fixed, but the chests are random.
That chest that we just saw is fixed, thankfully.
Okay.
But all the other chests, most of the other chests at least, I'm hoping I didn't forget anything, are randomized, slightly randomized. So here's Leviathan. This is one of the few fights that doesn't have a counterattack, so I will be trying to get interrupts on Leviathan as much as possible. It's the same opening as last time, but instead of trying to avoid interrupting everything with Robert's Hinderall, I do want to be interrupting everything. Again, just because Leviathan doesn't have a nasty counterattack. Now that the slow's out of the way, I need to bring in Aurora to do a little bit of legwork to kill this annoying ghost-looking enemy. $5, I think I got a crit on that the bottom gargoyle. So are we at 15 now? I think we're at $15 for me.
I believe so. So we really want that that Wraith dead because it can do an AoE attack without gathering strength. It can be kind of rude. So now we bring out Finn to do some lightning damage on Leviathan.
And now we're at the point of the game where Aurora has a really, really powerful buff ability. She's had it most of the game, but just at this point, since her abilities kind of level up as you go down the skill tree, it becomes really powerful. And hopefully we'll see some really high damage crits with Finn. I'd love to pay to win here. I think I just made a miss. I think I'll be okay.
His crit chance is around 5 or 6 at this point.
Okay. Again, Finn eats up MP really quickly, so Aurora at this point, I mean, I can throw a few spells out, but I do want to be making sure I am keeping Finn topped off on his MP. Crit, crit, crit. Okay, no crits. It's okay, we still have time. That fight went really well, by the way. Okay, now we're going to see kind of our last light puzzle. I personally like this one a lot, just because it's kind of based on the it's based on a solar eclipse. We're going into the Palace of the Sun, and there's an order that we kind of have to solve the puzzle. The order always stays the same, so I just need to make sure I don't mess it up and to do it quickly. So you can kind of see it's the one on the left, and the third from the left, then the second, then the fourth. And if you kind of look at the pictures underneath the statues, it kind of follows the path of a solar eclipse. In this section, I just kind of need to get through opening a lot of doors, avoiding spikes, making sure I don't run into any enemies. Oops. And we're coming up on, we get to kind of confront Nora again, but it's not time to fight her yet. She's going to try to trap us by releasing some gas. If I wanted to, I could make a pun. So her real name is Nox, and I could make a pun about something about noxious gas or something like that, but I'm not going to go there. So I need to just kind of go to the right and left sides to open up the gates to be able to get through, avoiding enemies still. I don't need to open up the gates all the way. I just need to open it up a little bit. Aurora's pretty thin. She can squeeze in there. Fights at this point are kind of really nasty. Those bird statue things are really, really quick. Not that I have any danger of dying, but they can actually have a pretty okay chance to surprise attack you if you're not paying attention, and just kind of eats up some time while I'm trying to run away. This section I just need to go up and not run into spikes. We're
about to enter a fight with Nox. Nox is also water elemental, so all of her attacks do water damage, which is those blue sapphires give water defense. So he's going to be putting those on his party members.
Worried I'm missing something. No, I'm good. We should have gotten some earlier if I remember to pick up the chest, but I just got some unstoppable elixirs, which allow me to have unstoppable during fights, and the last 2 fights we will be using them because these fights are kind of nasty and they can interrupt you quite often. So I just want to deal with these tentacles. I mean, if you guys can't tell, this guy is weak to lightning, so I went out of my way to equip Oengus with an emerald on his weapon, and that gives his attacks the lightning property. And I equipped, I think Jenna mentioned, sapphires to their armor to kind of mitigate water damage.
So Nox did a turn 1 gather strength. So her gather strength ability has a very long time on the weight bar. So we'll have a little bit of time here to try to get as many hits as we can before she does her attack. And that second part of the attack is a very strong single target ability that can pretty much one-shot anybody in our party.
I was going to be using safe strats for this fight, which actually no, I did taunt. Okay, for a second I thought I hadn't taunted. In a PB attempt, I would actually just forego using taunt with Oengus, but that carries the risk of Robert just kind of getting wrecked if the tentacles decide to be mean to him. So I'm going to bring out Finn. I'm going to start just beating up on Nox here. So I want to be killing Nox before she gets her turn off. As Jenna mentioned, once she gets to the cast bar, she has a very, very powerful single target ability. That was a useless crit. Could have used that earlier, Oengus. So again, I'll be bringing Aurora out to buff up Finn, so we can see some really, really high damage lightning strikes here. And again, Finn eats up MP really quickly, so I have to make sure he can cast his abilities.
Come on, Finn, you know you want to crit.
Yeah. Let's do it.
I'd really like to see some over 1k damage here. So because she did a turn 1 gather strength, the timing is going to be pretty close. We'll see if I can kill her before she gets the cast off. I should still be able to, especially if Finn decides to crit here.
That second turn on that gather strength ability is pretty much instantaneous, so it is nigh impossible to interrupt it.
I haven't interrupted it before. Nobody believes me.
Legends
hey,
say
there's a crit from Aurora, so that's still $5.
Yay!
Should be. Yep.
There we go.
Okay.
So we were able to get the kill before she did her second turn of that gather strength.
It was really close, but as long as you manage a Nicholas pretty okay, and his light meter, you should still be able to do that, even if she does a turn 1 gather strength. Thankfully, she was kind enough to do that. I'm not too sure exactly how her AI works. Sometimes she'll just spend the whole fight just not gathering strength, and the alternative for her is just spamming an ability called Maw of the Abyss, I think. And you'd think that gather strength is the scarier thing, but Maw of the Abyss, it's not nearly as long, does almost as much damage, and I would have to go out of my way to heal much more. Go ahead.
Most importantly, she doesn't have that slow, so basically her gather strength is like a self-slow, basically. The second turn of it takes a long time to get to the cast bar, so...
And it also just means she's not taking turns. Mm-hmm. Even just her casting Maw of the Abyss just eats up time.
Yeah.
So we have a little bit of time here. We've unfortunately died again. Aurora's just really good at dying. But if you want to do a few donations while we're just watching this cutscene.
Thanks to Takaze. I've got one here from Adam D, who sends $50. He says, greetings from the UK. Loving the run so far. GDQs are always awesome to watch, but let's be honest. What have those animals ever done for us? Kill the animals, save the frames, and maybe take out some cows along the way. Thanks to all involved with another awesome event. Of course, I wanted to let you know about one of our upcoming incentives, and this is for the Pokemon Blue bonus run, which is a reverse badges run. I've never ever seen that, and I would really like to see that. And for us to meet that, we are going to need another approximately $30,000, $32,000. So if you too want to see that, then please donate now to make sure that that can happen later on today.
What? The old lady is actually our mom?
Oh, yes. Old lady is actually your mom.
So she's not going to be compelling Aurora to join her.
Yes.
With the flute, the magic
flute.
flute.
Brings Aurora back from the dead. We still have a little bit of cutscene left, so take it away.
Sure, here's $30 from Alien's Mind. He says, hello from Russia. You guys are awesome. Thanks for holding such an event. I've got one from, looks like, Catch Leon. It's $10. He says, the music in Child of Light is amazing. I've never seen this game before now. Donating for epic music, and I didn't expect this early in the morning.
Still have some, what is my favorite music coming up with the final fight. Do one more donation, then I kind of have to explain kind of a last trick I'll be doing in this run.
I've got $10 here from Mason. He says, the Child of Light is a great and beautiful game. Nice to see someone run it. Good luck to all the runners, and thanks for a great event. With love from Finland.
So, this is the last fight with Umbra, your stepmother. Normally, the game doesn't allow you to pause between doing the fight with Nox and the fight with Umbra. So normally, we would want to prepare for the Umbra fight before Nox, get all prepped up for that, and then just kind of power through Nox, even though we're not optimized for it. But I'll be doing a trick where closing out of the game yet again after the game autosaves to just be able to squeeze in a pause after the cutscene that normally wouldn't allow us to do this. So once I see Robert and Margaret talk, close out of the game again. Don't freak out. And so all I'll really be doing, the main thing I'll be doing is that the emerald I put onto a Oengus, I need to switch to a citrine. Citrine carries kind of the holy or light property with it, and the final boss is very much weak to that. No, don't have anything. So let's do this. Yeah, that's it.
He also equips a tourmaline, which is magic defense on his defense for Oengus. Everything in this fight is magic damage. So
this last fight, I meant to take some time to tweet this out. We kind of have a little joke in our community. The two ads in this fight are really, really nasty. They're birds, and anybody who does RPG speedrun knows birds are jerks. And they have an ability called Prey, which is an AoE, it's a knockback, it's fast, it does a lot of damage. So usually when we get to this point, we type in like pray for no prey. So hopefully we'll get no prey.
So people watching, feel free to tweet that in support of Takaze during this fight.
Pray for no prey.
Pray for no prey.
So, same opening, taunts, hinder all.
Unstoppable elixir, yeah.
And then hinder all.
Though there's a good chance that Oengus is just going to take a bunch of damage, especially if they sneak in a crit, which I'd much prefer not to see. Once I get this, I'm going to be okay. Okay. If Umber decided to actually attack instead of just kind of being useless and buffing, Okay, so that's only one prey. Oftentimes they open up with a double prey and then they do a third prey. I don't like to see that. Bring in Aurora.
Yeah, despite being the final boss, Umbra does tend to spend a lot of turns doing buffs instead of attacking, so it's the birds are the kind of the main danger during the fight.
Just because I don't think I've gotten enough crits this game. If I get there's one crit. If I get any crits with a Oengus in this fight, I'll donate another $5. So that's one right there. So I think we're at $20 right now. Robert doesn't get any extra money.
There's another one.
$5. So that's great. I love to see that.
One bird already down.
So now with one bird down, I'm going to bring out Aurora, and I have to kill Umbra. Umbra is very much weak to... This is getting a little scary. I'm going to play it safe. Let's just play it safe. Umbra is very much weak to light-based damage here. And
she does have an interrupt counter too, but it's just, I believe, damage increase. And once the birds are dead, that's pretty meaningless.
This is the only boss, I believe, in the game that if you actually manage to kill the boss first, it will end the fight.
She can revive the birds.
It's pretty rare.
Pretty rare. So time isn't... time will be coming up, but it's not going to come when the boss dies. We wait till after the fight to do that, but still be ready on time. Rude.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's not devastating.
Okay, do I go for it? You know, I'll go for it, I think. I could bring out Finn. Yeah, there we go. So ready in time in a few seconds. That's when the screen's going to turn all white.
Time. No, not time. Sorry.
And time. So that's Child of Light. It was a pretty solid run. Can I ask what my time was?
It was 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 35 seconds.
Okay. So pretty much the only thing that went a little wrong in that the run was just Griffin, and that probably ate up a few minutes. My world record for this run is a 1:15, technically 11. I happened to PB in the practice room, unfortunately. My best on stream is a 1:15:38, I believe. But for the most part, other than Griffin, that was a really solid run. Got quite a few crits in there. I think I have to donate $25 now. We'll, I guess, watch through this the ending here, and then I boards are jerks, yes. I do want to thank everybody for donating. I know there were some people who donated who didn't get their donation read. Solomon's probably going to be a little upset at me. But thank you still, Solomon. I know you put your donation in there somewhere. There's plenty of other people who had their donation in support. I really like this game. I think it's a really solid run. It's an RPG. It's still on the short side. I do have a lot of information out there for people who found this interesting. A text-based guide and a video-based guide. So if you're looking at starting this up, send me a tweet, pop in my Twitch channel. We have a Discord for Child of Light that you are certainly welcome to ask to join. I want to thank the Child of Light community, Jenna, for flying out here to really just help commentate, Puexel for helping out as well. The rest of the Child of Light community for helping me learn this game. I'm actually really new to speedrunning. I've been watching for a long time, but this is the first game I picked up, and I only picked it up at the start of this year. And with the help of the other Child of Light members, I was able to learn the game quickly, get the world record. and luckily enough to come to GDQ. So thank you for GDQ for allowing me to do this. It's really, really cool to be able to come to an event like this, meet people that I've known, watched their streams. I'm a, I'm a big fan of Puexel, so it's really cool to be spending a lot of time with him and hanging out. But I guess I'll leave it at that. Your mother's a jerk, by the way. She doesn't talk to you, and she just kind of goes off and leaves you to your queen duties. I guess she doesn't want to be queen anymore. We get, I guess we get Aurora's a jerk just based off her mother being a jerk as well. But that's it.
Thank you, Takaze, for that fantastic run of Child of Light. Coming up in just a few moments, we are going to have Final Fantasy Adventure, run by Opus. That's any percent. That's coming up, like I said, in just a few minutes. Before we get started with that, we wanted to let you know that SGDQ, Summer Games Done Quick, is here raising money for Doctors Without Borders, and we are, of course, sponsored by Twitch. We're very proud of that.